Hi, and welcome to Difference Makers, the show that introduces you to nonprofits that are changing the world. I'm your host, Mark Stecker. We're passionate about enhancing community awareness through the stories of national, state, and local nonprofits and charities. Come join us and learn more about these incredible organizations, get inspired, and discover ways to get involved. Tonight's hosts are Manfred Smith, Principal Director, and Nancy DeLuca Stempel, Executive Director of the Learning Community International School. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
So I'd like to start off by asking you, can you tell us a little bit about this organization?
Yes, the Learning Community International is a private, accredited school without walls, and our focus is on helping students see the whole world as their classroom. And our specialty is working with students through our advisors to help them design learning programs based on their interests and their learning styles. And then throughout the year, the advisors work with them to reflect on what they're doing and to evaluate it and to make any corrections throughout their program. And that's at the K through 12 level.
Okay, that's great. What is the story behind this great organization?
Well, I guess it goes way back in the 60s because I was involved in the free school movement. Then, of course, I wanted to become a teacher, so I taught in public schools for like 33 years. And I was very fortunate because I worked in a school that where the administration really appreciated creativity, individualization, which is very unusual, obviously, in a public school, or even in most private schools, for that matter, you know. And from there, I began to get involved eventually in the homeschooling movement in Maryland, and actually we were pioneers in that, helping to write the laws and so on and so forth. And then Learning Community was actually already a private school established about a year when I got involved. And from there, I began to help develop this program, to expand this program, and eventually, you know, with Nancy here being my partner in the last number of years, we really have expanded internationally, worldwide.
Okay, great. Well, I understand that you have a video that you want to show today. Can you help prep us for it before we go to it?
Sure. Nancy, you want to say a little bit about Jenny?
Sure. Jenny is a 2012 graduate.
Yes, that's right.
And I think the clip is when she received her scholarship, merit scholarship
Yes.
from the Learning Community. And because of the flexibility of the program, she was really able to take advantage of different opportunities within the DC area. So she talks a little bit about that.
Okay, well, great. Well, let's go ahead and go to that video.
Not being constrained within traditional high school classroom walls, I was able to range far and wide in my academic pursuits. The result has been an exhilarating journey. I got to pursue classical piano and even explore folk and other styles of music, work on a novel, and take college classes in the most fascinating topics in the world. I also studied Arabic, Hebrew, and French at an advanced college level. TLCI also guided me in making great extracurricular choices. I have completed several hundred hours of volunteer work, some of the best hours of my life, and throughout high school, I had a part-time internship with Institute for Education in Washington, D.C. At the Institute for Education, I received the Global Compass Award for being the founder of Next Gen Roundtable, which is a forum for D.C. area high school and college students to talk with world leaders on future opportunities. I cannot think of another school where all this would have been possible. With my education in the arts and foreign affairs, I feel like the world is at my fingertips. I can't wait to take my next step. TLCI wasn't just a temporary learning opportunity for me, but rather a way of life. I am looking forward to bringing the TLCI approach of viewing the world as my campus with me when I attend Harvard University in the fall.
What an inspiring story, wow. What inspired you both to become part of TLCI?
Well, yeah, myself, it's very interesting because I came from Germany and we traveled, my stepfather, he was in the military, so we traveled around a lot. Georgia, Texas, Alaska, and eventually we wound up in Maryland. And my father himself only had a 5th grade education. But one of the things that really impressed me when I first came to America to know him is that he had a lot of books and he read a lot and he knew a lot. He was really self-educated. So eventually, when I got involved in education myself, and especially the idea of, when I communicated with John Holt, who's really sort of the father of homeschooling, back in '78, after I had my first child. As soon as I read about homeschooling, we realized that's what we're going to do. And so that's sort of how I really got involved in that aspect of it, and eventually, of course, developed the learning community and all the really interesting, really truly individualization that we do.
And for me, I was already participating in kind of an intentional community, and I had started a small school. But when I moved to this area, I thought I was going to do something alternatively, but I really didn't know about homeschooling. I didn't even know that it was like there was this whole movement. I thought I was kind of creating this alternative. And this is before the internet, and I met someone, and they gave me a couple of addresses and phone numbers, and I sent out a few mailings. And Manfred was the only person that actually that wrote me back. And so I went to meet him, and when I read about the learning community and what the mission was and the vision, I just knew it was very congruent with what I wanted for my children. So I actually enrolled my kids in the program. That's how I actually started. And then around in 1993, Manfred asked me to become an advisor and work with him.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Now, Manfred, I understand you were instrumental in helping bring homeschooling to the state of Maryland. How has that supported the TLCI effort?
Well, in the beginning, learning community, we ran actually a day program in Annapolis. Then what I did initially was to develop what they call their umbrella program, meaning that distance learning, it really isn't the right word for it, but essentially the distance program, which existed mostly in Maryland at the time. And so I developed all of that particular part of that program. And that began to expand more and more and more, obviously, and that sort of really became the primary motive behind the learning community at that point. So that's why we sort of call it, in a way, the best fusion of home education and private schooling, because we are a registered, accredited private school by middle states. And that is actually a very important component of the learning community, the fact that we are accredited. And I actually have Nancy here to thank for that, because when she came back in 2007, I think, and I asked her to be part of this new idea in terms of really expanding TLCI, she's the one who really began to do the research about the importance of accreditation for our graduates and internationally speaking. So we do have an international component in different countries.
Right, and I think, even though we existed for decades not being accredited.
That's true.
And one of the real key, I think, unique part about the learning community is the way Manfred set it up, that every family receives an advisor that helps them. So they're not on their own just trying to figure out how to homeschool or educate their child. But after all these years of reflecting on what we did, what works best, we put certain things in place to really help the families develop. They're not on their own. And the accreditation really just helped that integrity piece for other people to take that chance to try to do something more alternatively. And I was really happy when Manfred said, we want to expand internationally. What will set us up to do that to do that best? And that's when we talked about accreditation. And we were just reaccredited, and they were, not only did they reaccredit us, but they were very excited and gave us accommodations about that unique piece of helping people customize learning. And the first gentleman that worked with us, he was the superintendent of schools in Pennsylvania, and he just said, do you know what you have here? Do you know what you're doing? Kids that are falling between the cracks, kids that are dropping out of school, this really allows them to really touch what is intrinsically motivating to them and continue to learn. So I just think what Manfred has done has been, it's just so unique. And I think it's the best kept secret. And we want it to get out there more.
Okay, well, if we can help do that, hopefully we will.
Good.
That's
Thank
our
you.
goal.
Thank you, Mark.
What other types of supports would you say that TLCI offers students and their parents?
Well, I'm going to talk about the concierge services in a moment. I'd like to just go back to a moment with the advisor. It's not just an advisor that says, oh, how you doing, how are things working? This program here is much more extensive than that. I mean, like in high school, you have an advisor that's working with you at least 50 hours during the year. That's quite extensive.
Yeah.
There are weekly and certainly weekly, bi-weekly reviews. At the minimum, monthly Skype or face-to-face, where the advisor works very closely, often with the students, depending on how old they are, and or with a parent, and sometimes even with an in-house mentor that is actually working with the student. So it's quite a diverse situation. I mean, we've had a person call us some time ago who has a child in a $45,000 private school, and it's not working. So, when we had this conversation, we actually told the gentleman that we could put together, in effect, a private school for one, where we would have the actual advisor be in the home, actually supervise the entire program, have specialists come in, tutors come in, and even have someone take the student to gym, skating, museums, and do all that for a definite amount less than $45,000 a year.
Wow.
So we could actually go that extent to have this very unique, very high-end private school for one, and yet our program we have now, it gives more service, more support, more direct guidance than any other program. We're really quite unique in the sense that there is no other program in the world like what we do.
Right, we've done a lot of research too, trying to find if it exists somewhere else, but I have yet to find that kind of one-on-one advisory service. And just to illustrate a little bit more what you brought out, that what we really built into part of the program is a reflection component, that the students are documenting what they do after the program is put together. It's a collaboration, what they want to do. We get the students to buy in and help create that learning program. And that's the flexibility part. And then there's an accountability part, that they're documenting what they're doing. And then there's a reflection component. How is this working? Do I need anything else? And that ongoing relationship with the advisor helps to target what else that they might need. So it really is an empowerment piece for the student. They have such a buy-in, and if it's not working, we know right away because they're constantly reflecting. And I really think that is a real essential part of the empowerment component.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, and in our case, there's many catchwords, empowerment and individualization. In our case, it really truly is correct, because this is student empowerment. This is true individualization, not like or customization in terms of what most people think of as. They mean like, okay, you can choose between this class, or that class. There's your individualization.
Right.
In our case, individualization and customization really is based upon the child's interest, their goals, their talents. Many of them are hidden. So we bring people on right from the beginning, professionals at the beginning, to help bring that out, to bring out hidden talents they didn't even realize they have, or certain learning preferences or certain learning abilities they did not even realize that they had. And that's how we really begin, and then monitor that, and then keep building on that, so that really, I mean, we've graduated over 1,200 kids at this point, none of which ever had the same transcript. So when we talk about individualization in the learning community or customization, we literally mean that. Not like, you get to choose between 3 of these and 2 of those and 5 of those.
Right. And to answer your question too, and Manfred, you already brought it up, we have for instance, Susan Combe from Handmade Life. And she comes in with our students, especially the high school students, right away before we even design the program. And she uses Rockport testing, where they look at what the strengths and talents are of the students. They even do Myers-Briggs, and then she does a one-on-one interpretation of that and how that will assist us in creating that learning plan for them. So we're really about helping flesh out, like Manfred said, kind of uncovering some hidden talents that the students don't even really know they have yet. Instead of like sometimes in the school system, they look at what's not right, and they try to support that. We look at what is right, what is the strength and talent, and then we focus on that, and then we bring in the supplementary support for things that they might challenge. But once you bring in that and you really start to fan what they're interested in, now you've got the kids. Now you've got that light of learning turning back on, and they get very excited about it. And it's pretty powerful.
And to further support our students, depends upon how much they need it, we have an entire bank of concierge services. These are specialists, special education, math, science, English, writing, for anyone that might need to have that extra support. And of course, we also
Right.
have a core curriculum, a K through 12 course, national standards-based curriculum also, which we look at and utilize more as a resource, not as you follow this,
Right.
you know.
And it can be used as an anchor for those 4 core courses like the math, the science, the social studies, and English.
Right.
And so you know what those objectives are at each grade level. But what we customize is how do you want to approach that? We had one young lady she was a very gifted writer. So when she was working on her science and her biology, she wrote a short story about the life of a cell. So we knew she understood the objectives of biology, but she did it in a way that was a strength for her.
That's awesome,
So that's and that core curriculum is included in the tuition, but they're not limited to that curriculum. They could choose other ones also based on their desires.
I know in undergraduate, I had to choose certain courses, and you know, it was all over the place because I didn't have good advising. But it sounds like your education process really focuses on personal growth and development and coaching. It sounds like that's a pretty big piece of that, and I think that's critical. I think a lot of people miss that in the education system.
One of the things I think we're really proud about over all these many years is the fact that, you know, our students, when they leave, either they graduate or sometimes they go to a different school or whatever, are really truly successful because the entire program is designed for them to be successful.
Right.
So they're not learning incidental things or just going through checking things off because I've done 4 of these and 3 of those, so now I graduate. You know, unfortunately, like what often happens in college, in fact, also, by the way.
Sure.
So when our kids graduate, they already know what they're going to be doing. So you might get somebody like Jenny who's very clear she's going to go to Harvard and does go to Harvard. But we have kids who, well, like we interviewed one of our alumni
Right.
just recently. You did,
Right.
and Nitai, right?
Right. Nitai Joseph. And basically, we interviewed him. He called us up. He's 25 years old, and he's actually started his own business. So we interviewed him and talking about how did the learning community help shape his vision. And that's what he said. He said, well, while I was in high school, my passion was baking and cooking. I started my own cheesecake business. I got credit for doing that. And I worked at a restaurant. He was at a vegetarian restaurant. He was able to develop some of his skills and use that as part of his curriculum. And he said that was inspirational. He said, maybe I never would have had the opportunity, but it facilitated me and encouraged me, and he helped me believe in myself. And now he has his own business it's called Maiden House Do-It-Yourself food kits. And there's bread kits and cheese kits and pickle kits and things like that. Yeah, so and then there was the one young man that did a button business.
Oh yes, that's right.
While he
And
was
we
in
have authors. The point is that
Right.
when we look at success, we're not, you know, you see the video with Jenny and it's like, oh, she went to Harvard. But that is not what our focus is. Our focus is truly the individual student. You know, we've had kids, I remember we had a young lady that she wanted, she was going to become a medical researcher. So one of the things we really encourage and promote is some kind of internship, some kind of volunteering. So she wound up, and she was, I think, like in 10th grade, working for an entire semester at the University of Maryland Hospital in Baltimore. When she finished that semester, you know what she said? The last thing I would ever want to do is do medical research.
Oh, really?
Okay, and her entire focus and goal changed in her entire life. And now imagine if she would have gone through tens of thousands of dollars worth of college for this, and then wind up finally doing something like this and realize, I don't want to do this. So, you know, we really, we get our kids at an early age. I mean, you know, my own daughter at 9, at 7, actually had a trash can business. You know, at 9, she's a published author. You know, my son, you know, got involved in, and this with other kids in the learning community, 10, 11, 12 computers. And this, you know, so we gave them computers. They tore computers apart. They built computers. This is really what we are really about. It's not of, you know, you do a bunch of studies and whatever. No, it's really trying to figure out what really interests you. And also do a lot of different kind of things, because, you know, you have kids interested in this for a little while, and now they're not interested in it anymore. But you're building skills, you're building momentum, you're building motivation. Learning really can be fun, and should be fun, all right? And instead of just drudgery, like, you know, the 12-year sentence. That's the title of the book, you know. And then another 4 or 5 or 6 years being, you know, a professional student,
Right.
and have $150,000 college debt,
Yeah.
you know, and then come up and work a $12 an hour job. I mean, the whole thing is insane.
So this exploration that the students are allowed to do, they actually are receiving credit for that also. As they're exploring and they're getting clarity about what they like or they don't like, or what their strengths are or what they're not. This is all part of the program. It's part of receiving high school credit for that. And I think that is where the personal awareness comes from. And they get clearer and clearer as they're moving forward. Another way we have people supporting us is if the students are interested, maybe they're not going to do an internship, but we're going to connect them with a professional or subject specialist, and the advisor assists them in creating a interview. So they might meet Dr. So-and-so on Skype and ask them questions. What do you like most about, you know, your career? What do you like least about it? How did you get into it? So again, it gives them more information as they're creating their lives.
That's great.
I'd like to sort of add another component to this. We're actually developing EdNet, educational network, virtual. So we're creating a virtual learning community. And think Facebook,
Okay.
except for this is private. There's no data mining. There's no advertising. You know, it's going to be controlled by the learning community. So now you're going to have students in Indonesia, in Egypt, the United States, in Washington State, in Maryland, whatever. They're all going to be on there. And now all of a sudden they have the ability to communicate their interests, their goals. They'll be able to post, you know, using interface with YouTube and everything else. They will be able to say, hey, this is what here's my project. We're going to do virtual science fair, virtual learning fairs. You know, there'll be a whole process for that. They'll be able to put up their, you know, this is what I'm doing here. This is my research paper. Post it up there. Now you've got students reinforcing and helping and motivating each other on top of that
encouraging that collaboration, that educational, you know, learning collaboration as well.
Yeah, social networking collaboration seems it's big. I
That's
mean,
right. Yes, it is.
So-
Right.
And kids are very good at
And
that.
this has more of a focus instead of just
Yes, it's very
Right.
focused.
Yeah,
It's
free
very
floating.
Let
focused.
me poke you.
That's right.
Yeah,
And there'll be a
exactly.
separate part of that for parents, so parents can be on there. They'll be monitored by our advisors or somebody from the learning community. Plus, the advisors will have their own group of students in a closed group
And it won't be
situation.
limited to learning community. It'll be opened up to private and public school, homeschool. It'll be opened up and give students a way of, you know, having that kind of collaboration.
Right, now they
about
won't be able to
learning.
get, you know, I mean, they won't be able to take advantage of all the components of EdNet, but all students, no matter where they are, can communicate with each other on a certain level.
And there'll be classes on there, and advisors and consultants, and there'll be a variety of services on there that people can opt into.
Wow, that's a great way to collaborate.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's really, we're very excited about
Right.
it, obviously, you know, and it's another way, right, it's another way to really focus, keep the focus on learning, on the individual and their strengths and their talents.
Well, I'm excited just hearing about it, but I'm afraid we have to take a quick break.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's-
But we'll,
we can do that.
but when we come back, we'll join Nancy and Manfred and talk a little bit more about TLCI school.
Hi, I'm Carmen Booker. I'm a business nonprofit attorney, and I have a company called CompuPerfect Professional Services, and we provide business and nonprofit consulting services. And this is my giving moment. Grants. Nonprofit organizations that have their 501c3 taxable status can avail themselves to grants, which is free money out there that can be used to fund their programs and services. As a matter of fact, there are over 70,000 private foundations that give money to community-based nonprofit organizations, whether you're providing mentoring, leadership training, computer training, or entrepreneurship for youth, adults, or whatever your target population is. But the key is to tap into that funding source, because again, there are over 70,000 private foundations that are giving money for community-based nonprofit organizations.
And we're back with Nancy and Manfred to talk a little bit more about TLCI school. So, if you had to describe your organization in 3 words, your organization mission in 3 words, what would they be?
First of all, we wouldn't have 3 words. But I would say certainly student empowerment success. There's 3. You got 3, Nancy?
Oh, my favorite is flexibility with accountability, assisting students to reach their highest potential. I mean, that's more, I don't know how many words that was, but yeah, I think that. Reaching highest potential.
You can see already that we have a problem with limitations.
I think you talk more than I do.
Hey.
But the passion for your organization definitely shines through, and it's very apparent. So that's exciting.
Well,
It's
we're really
catching.
excited about being here because the idea of difference makers. I really feel very strongly that we really, Nancy and I, and other members of the learning community and those parents have made a really difference in children's lives, truly a difference.
Please continue to do so.
We hope to, plan to.
And speaking of plans, what are some of your current and future plans?
Well, of course, EdNet is a big one. We've already mentioned that a little bit. We're talking about, of course, really trying to have more partnerships in terms of international partnerships.
Right.
We currently have a really unique program in Indonesia for autistic children.
Right, Indonesia, in Jakarta, and then we have people having different learning centers in Trinidad, in Egypt, in Korea, and the idea of expanding internationally. And right now, I just got a call from Greece, where homeschooling is illegal, but they're really looking for alternatives, and they're wanting us to maybe sponsor something there because we are a private accredited school to give them an alternative. So we're working with that right now.
Oh, great. How can viewers best support your organization?
We have a few ways.
Yeah, of course, on the website, people could just donate, which will go to help students. But I think probably more like
Well, we have an ambassador program that's a referral program, and then we have scholarships. We have a variety of scholarships that people can donate to, and it's on the website. And also we invite people to actually create their own scholarships if they're small businesses. We really like the idea. We are a learning community, and we would like to see small businesses support us more than going after government grants and things like that, financing. So we'd like to see small businesses who actually think our vision and their vision are congruent. And you could even sponsor students. We have students, sometimes there's a hardship fund, a hardship in families, so we have a hardship fund that people can donate to. So there's a variety of ways. You can either visit us on our website to see where to donate, or you can give us a call.
Okay. Well, any final thoughts or experiences that you'd like to share?
well, we hope to be doing this for a long time.
Right,
I
this
think
year is our
you know,
30th anniversary.
Yeah, 30th
Congratulations.
anniversary.
Mhm.
We are starting to really think about, you call it the best kept
Kept
secret.
secret,
It's
right.
really true. We really want to start expanding that, where we are really fortunate through some of our advisory board, like on-course Dr.
Skip
Downing, who's in 500-600 colleges, and their training really is really allied to the way we operate. So we're hoping to really get some of those their advisors on board as part of being part of the learning community. That will allow us really to grow and continue the real quality and integrity of what we've been doing, because for us to grow really requires having people who understand this entire concept.
Right.
So we're not a secret anymore.
Well, yes.
We don't want to be a secret anymore.
Yes, right. And be honest with you, one of the ways we really want to try to inflect change too is by the fact that we hope other people begin to copy us, because we want to have all children to be empowered, to really work on their real talents, their hidden talents, and not just make learning this drudgery of check off things, and they come out after 15, 16, 17, 18 years of schooling and have no clue what they're doing, what they want to do, what they love to do. It's really, that's one of the changes we really like to go ahead and do. Is one of the things I set off to do back in the 60s when I started all this, is to really change the system of the way we educate children. I've had some mixed success in that, but through the learning community, I think we're probably most successful in doing that.
Great. So part of your grand vision is to have some copying of the model and the kind
Oh,
of
absolutely.
idea. So
Absolutely. And I think today, with all electronic potential and so on, look, computers, I've been into schools. It's always the latest, greatest thing. And, when all is said and done, it's back to the same old, same old. So the real change has to come in terms of like what we're doing, which is to really have the ability to really help individual children realize their highest potential.
Right.
That's really what it is.
And get out of their way.
And get out of their way.
Right.
Facilitate.
Right, to get out of their way.
It's that whole thing about the guy on the side versus the sage on the stage, right?
Right.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
That's
Anyway.
right. And you can have both, but just on cram it down some kids' throats.
Right.
Right.
That's what it is.
No helicopter educators.
Not too much of that. A little bit maybe, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the show. I just want to say that you can contact us here at contact@differentmakerstv.com. And I want to thank you for being on the show again.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Mark.
welcome.
And remember that anybody can be a difference maker. Just take the time, effort, and belief that you can make a difference. You can make a difference in other people's lives, and then take the time to accomplish it. Thank you for watching, and come back and see us again soon.